Hello everyone, welcome back to Unit 3 where today we're solving word problems. Before we jump into examples and do all this, we need to understand our goal. We need to apply real-life scenarios into mathematical problems. How do we do this? Well, there's a way that we have to do this at the beginning of each of our word problems to really define a variable. This is because it makes it easier to set up an equation, and these are called let statements. So, let's take up some examples. Here, we're representing x through the number of games Jamal has played. If Jamal has played 8 games, we would then write x is equal to 8. Let t represent the time the train traveled. If the train traveled for 8 hours, let's say, t would be 8. That this should represent the hours. Let y represent how many years Sophie's brother went in military camp. If Sophie's brother went in the military camp for 8 years, it would be y is equal to 8. Clear let statements are very important since it lets your work be organized and additionally helps you avoid mistakes later on in your process. So I want to give a few more tips before we get started. Firstly, you should always translate the words into an equation. Then solve the equation using normal steps that you learned previously. Then check if the answer makes sense in the context of the question. So let's jump into the 3 examples. Here, it says a video game costs $25 and shipping is $7. If Jamal had paid $82 in total, how many games did he buy? Now let's first add a let statement. The question is asking us how many games did he buy, so we always make our let statements tailored to that. Let x be the number of games Jamal had bought. The question asks us that the video game costs $25. This means that each of our video games will be worth $25, 25x. Then, since we know that the shipping is $7 for each, we add 7. If he had paid $82, then we could finally have an equation that lets us solve for x. Here, we should subtract 7 on both sides. Then divide by 25 to get us x is equal to 3. At the end, we should write a therefore statement. A therefore statement is simply a way of finishing your word problem. Therefore, Jamal bought 3 games. Let's move on to the next question. This one involves time and distance. A train travels 90 kilometers at a speed of 45 kilometers an hour. How long does the trip take in total? It's asking us how long the trip takes, so we must make a let statement in relation to that. Let t be the time taken in hours. We know that the formula for distance is equal to speed times time.
Important note, in this case, 3 let statements would usually be required. However, for now, you will be given the ability to simply do one, but should substitute right away.
Time. Now, in the word problem, we are given some of these variables. For example, it travels 90 kilometers. We can replace d with 90. We can also replace speed, which is s, with a 45. Therefore, we only have time left. When we divide everything by 45, time is equal to 2. We make a therefore statement. The time took 2 hours. Here's our third example. Sarah is twice as old as her brother. In 8 years, she will be 30. How old is her brother now? Now let's make a let statement. Let x B. The brother's age now. If Sarah is twice as old as her brother, then it means that Sarah is 2x. It's asking in 8 years, so we add 8, and it's saying that she will be 30, meaning that this will become equal to 30. 2x will then be equal to 22, where x is equal to 11 when everything is divided by 2. Therefore, her brother is 11 years old. Now to conclude, to solve word problems in our Unit 3 lesson, always start with a clear let statement. It's very important as it makes it less confusing, and many times it's actually an essential part of the total mark of the question, meaning that it is absolutely required in some cases. Secondly, you must translate the words into an equation. Thirdly, you should solve and check your answer by substituting. Then, you need to understand if it makes sense in the context of the situation. For example, if you get time is equal to -9, that doesn't make any sense as long as the question is not talking about going back in time. That means that -9 would not make sense in the context of the situation. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching the lesson, and make sure you do the homework and the worksheets.